Hello and welcome back once again to the Single Malt Review. We are going to warm up this weekend with another blend, but a wee bit of a more special one this time. This is in fact brought to you by Campbell, but he's not, he's off screen, isn't he? Go on. Oh well, we'll see what develops. Cutty Sark Storm. We have looked at two Cutty Sarks before, one of which we rather liked, and one of which we sort of didn't. The one we liked was the original. Cutty Sark blend, been around a very long time, and the one we didn't really was the Prohibition Edition, sort of unchill filtered, high strength, allegedly more sherry matured whiskey, so on. That one I didn't think was quite such a hit. Immature whiskey, I thought was the problem there. This one, the deal with this one is more or less the same makeup, and here comes Campbell now. More or less the same makeup as the goodness me. As the regular Cutty Sark, but with older whiskey in there, allegedly. They're not going to give us a number on the bottle, but that would be very, very rare. And with a few specific distilleries mentioned. And I think that's quite important, because we'll get to it as we taste along here, but there is something very, very notable in here, which I picked up immediately, and it's really, really rare that a blend will demonstrate a single malt quite so obviously.
Yeah, I feel like they're kind of targeting a particular flavour profile, certain niche characteristics here, since they go away to name drop two major distilleries on the label, which we'll come to as we sample.
Still a blend, still a 40% coloured and chill filtered blend, but not really going to get around that one, or at least not just yet. They'd have to make it quite a wee bit stronger if it was going to be unchill filtered, but so we won't worry about that too much, nor will I go on about the colour, which was it natural would be a lovely, lovely colour, but it's not, so never mind. Now, the nose. Ooh,
There's a little bit of a brackishness to it, like just a little splash of seawater. That's curious.
There is two notes here which are really, really telling. There is, as you say, there's a marine quality. There is a sort of seaside, salty, savoury quality.
And there is some toffee and salted caramel for me too.
Yeah, there's two things. There's that marine, and then there's a significant presence of sherry matured whiskey. And one particular sherry matured whiskey as well. One of those whiskies that you can really, really type when you encounter it, or I can anyway, and that's sherry matured Macallan. Not even just Macallan, sherry matured Macallan has a distinct profile for me. You get it less and less these days. Macallan was always, historically, it was one of the most well-known sherry maturing distilleries. Now, of course, that has gone over to Glendronach, but way back in the day, before they got quite as hip as they are now, Macallan was the sherry guys over there, and they were renowned for the style. But
there's
they still do
waft of that sort of dry fruitiness coming through after those initial salty and sweet overtones.
But all up, nice and rich and sweet, but lifted and dried out by that lovely marine quality, and that's a really good combo there. It stops it getting too sickly sweet. Now the palate.
Oh, that is very grain heavy at first, but there is some pepper and ginger sneaking through after that. Some apricots, pears, apples. That's actually delivering lots of space side. It's a very, very grainy blend. Obviously, it's a blend, so yeah. But the single malts which have gone into that are starting to make their presence felt.
If the label is to be believed here, what it's going for is young grain and older malt. And I more or less believe that, because as you say, up front you get that sort of fresh, gristy blast of grain whiskey, which is pretty noticeable, and with a young blend like this, very, very difficult to hide. And I think a lot of blends try to hide it, and it's always a bad idea, because you always find it. Wherever they try to sort of shuffle their young grain whiskey under the rug, hide it under the bed, cram it full in the closet, chuck it in the garage, it doesn't matter. We'll always taste it. You cannot really hide it. This whiskey is pretty upfront about it embracing its younger grain, and it's kind of a palate in two halves. You get that big oomph of younger grain, but then there's more sort of lilting notes begin to come in, and it's really quite nice. And very indicative of those two distilleries. It's almost weird how much it does actually taste like Highland Park and sherry matured Macallan. It's funny, we should do a warm-up whiskey where we don't even film it, or just talk nonsense or something. Because the first whiskey of the session always is a bit different to how I remember it. This one, the Highland Park, is coming out more than Macallan. And pre-tasting this a few days ago, although that said I newly opened the bottle then, I thought I could taste the Macallan far more strongly. But things have maybe come into a bit more balance now. But I think it's really, really nice and really, really balanced as well. It's whatever the idea was, I think it's really, really worked out for them in a way that their Prohibition edition really did not.
The grain element is what they on the label talk about lively grain, and it's definitely coming through strong, possibly a little strong for my taste, but it is just providing a good canvas to really highlight the things which are not grain, which are there's really strong Highland Park and Macallan characters amongst the single malts which they've blended into there.
Yeah, to put this one in a nutshell, this is a bit like if you took the regular, light, crisp, almost ethereal... Oh, the name is gone from my mind. Cutty Sark, here it is, it came back. Take the regular Cutty Sark and add to it a significant richness and sort of not broadened the palate, but deepened it significantly. Gave it much more depth of flavour than the regular. Quite a bit more richness and more of just a longer flavour on it, which these older malts really lend it. And I think it really, really helps. It turns Cutty Sark from almost the most typical sort of over ice in your soda water mixing sort of a quaffing whiskey, by design, not a problem with it, it's just that's the niche it's going for. It turns that into a sipping whiskey, and it does it, I think, really pretty well.
Adding just a smaller splash of water has really enhanced that. It has cut through the grain, softened that significantly, and brought out lots of caramel and nuts and other more quintessentially malt whiskey flavours. It has, just brought it out even further.
Needless to say, I really, really like it. This one was just sort of a punt for me. This is something I chucked onto the end of my order of other things that I actually was targeting, just to sort of fill out the box and get the free shipping. I didn't really expect it to be as good as it turned out to be, so that's always very pleasing. The regular Cutty Sark I gave a 76 and Dave gave an 84, if memory serves. This one, 74 I should say. This one has way outdone that, I think. This is where the other one was a blend, and a pretty unapologetic blend, this is now a blend that is it's competing with single malt whiskies. It's of that level of flavour and quality, I think. So my score is cranking all the way up to an 83 on this one. It is a really stupendous blend. What do you think?
I'm enjoying it. It is showcasing its whiskey components very nicely. It's still got a fairly generous amount of grain to it, even with the addition of water, so it's good. It's a very nice blend. I would rate it 77.
Oh, there you have it.
It's an improvement over Cutty Sarks. It's still very much a blended whiskey, but it's a blend that brings something a little different, and it just helps it to stand out a little bit. It has recognisable constituent parts.
Pretty good stuff, I think, and pretty cheap stuff as well. Not, obviously it's a wee bit more than the standard Cutty Sark, but it's not in the single malt territory by a long shot. So that one, another pretty good gem of a blend there. We've done quite well with blends this year between this and the Smoky Grass?
That's right, yes. The peated famous grass, which was
another
for me.
Another massive surprise.
Just delivered.
Quality blended whiskey. I hear tell from people in the industry who should know that we've seen over the last sort of 2 years especially, but even a few more beyond that, the quality of blended whiskey has just gone up and up and up in recent years. For various reasons, but mostly just because different people like ourselves are drinking them now, and so they're under more of a scrutiny, and they're also that much more fashionable. They're that much more valuable. Whiskey all over is more valuable.
Competition just driving them to greater innovation.
A lot of blends have been markedly spruced up in recent years, and that is good for us. So, also good for us will be a few more, I think, quite interesting whiskies and a few really hot takes. So stick around. We will be right back after these messages. Ooh, Slanjo, Oh man, that's it. Now I've gone and breathed the whiskey. Best slanger ever. We'll see you next week.